friends, welcome to another video. My name is Julie if you're new here, and today I'm going to tell you about 5 Sapphic romances. So it's been a while since my last video. A lot has happened. I have been really busy with uni and with writing my thesis and starting my thesis and life as well, not just uni. So yeah, it's been really fun. But also I've been reading quite a lot, and what I've been reading are, for example, some Sapphic romances. And I thought I would take the opportunity during Pride Month to talk about these, because last year I also did a video on which books to read in Pride Month or just in general gay romance books, and I found that I have not been reading enough Sapphic romances or books where female couples were the focus of. So I have changed it this year, and I found some really good ones that I really wanted to share with you. By the way, I said 5 romances. That's not technically correct. I'm going to do 4 romances and then 1 literary fiction book. But I thought it would be interesting to include some different perspectives, and that's why I also decided to include that one. Okay, let's get started with the first book. The first book I want to talk about is It Started With a Kiss by Claire Lydon. This book really starts up with a kiss, and the kiss takes place in a bar setting where 2 women meet, Gemma and Sky, and Sky works in the city that they meet in, and they don't know each other at all. They just meet for the first time, and Sky has had a bit of a rough time because of her job and because her ex is getting married at the hotel where she works at, and that is really a difficult situation because they also were married before and they are divorced now, and she's getting married again at her workplace, which is kind of their workplace because they work together. And then she meets Gemma that night, and these two really hit it off. They really get along so well, and they just decide to take this opportunity because they will never ever see each other again, and they start kissing in the bar. And then Gemma has to leave because she lives somewhere else, and that's also why they thought, no strings attached, let's just have a good fun evening. And yeah, that's the way it starts off. And Gemma is the owner of a vineyard, but Sky doesn't know that, so they haven't really been talking about like the details of their lives or where they work at, just about like they go right in. They don't do small talk, they just talk about the harder hitting topics like the marriage stuff and why Sky is so upset. And yeah, that is also why Sky is very surprised when she goes to a wine tasting and she sees Gemma there, and they meet each other again at Gemma's vineyard. And then it gets a bit more complicated because Sky is in search of a new job because of obvious reasons, because she's working with her ex who gets married to another woman, and Gemma works with her sister, and they are actually looking for someone to start working at the vineyard in the position that Sky is currently doing at the hotel. So that's his job opportunity, and Sky is looking for a job, so she just decides to take it and like see what will happen. And Gemma is also really happy about that, and they decide to just not date because that is one of Gemma's and her sister's rules for the vineyard, that they don't date any of the employees, which kind of makes sense because of their family history. Their father has really been having some affairs with staff, so there are also some emotional reasons to not do it besides the more logical ones. And that is now a situation that they have to handle, that there's definitely this huge tension between these two, and they also have to stick to the rules, and especially Gemma really wants that. So yeah, that is what It Started With a Kiss is about, and I really enjoyed that one. I was really surprised because I didn't expect that much from the romance, but it was really cute, and it also was set in England, which, if you know, I have been on a semester abroad in England recently, and it just brought back some really cool memories for me. Also because Reading, the town that I studied in, was mentioned quite a few times in this, and yeah, It's just, I really enjoyed it, and I didn't think there would be a vineyard story set in England, but it kind of made sense, and it was really interesting and a very interesting topic to read about. Quite unusual in comparison to some of the more maybe overdone settings that I've read quite a lot recently, which are set on farms or in larger cities. So that was really interesting. Which a thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, but also is expected if this is a story set on a vineyard, is that there was quite a lot of alcohol drinking involved in the story, and yeah, it was just a bit too much for me because I'm not that interested in wine or drinking a lot of alcohol, and it's not like I think it's a bad thing if you drink. Just a lot of the time it is very normalized to drink a lot, and I don't think that's healthy. But that's more of a problem in our society in general. So yeah, that was also something that I thought was a little bit annoying in the book. But if you don't have a problem with that, I don't think it was really bad. I'm just sensitive to the topic. But there were some really romantic scenes in this as well, and yeah, I really felt the tension between the characters, and that was something that was really cool. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this one, especially if you maybe want to read a story with some more mature characters, because these are a little bit older, and I did also like that because I'm kind of over reading about people in the beginning of their 20s being really naive, and yeah, that definitely wasn't the case. These two had history, and you could also feel some of the life experience in them, and of course they also had their problems and they didn't have everything figured out and they had some emotional work to do, but yeah, I still enjoyed that the characters had some maturity to them. So yeah, overall I would say I would really recommend this one. Next up we have more of a YA story, which is Girls Like Girls by Hayley Kiyoko. This book is written by a singer, Hayley Kiyoko, and it is based on one of her songs, which is also called Girls Like Girls, and it is more of a coming of age story than a love story, I would say. Of course, the romance is a huge part in the book and also in the song, but I think there's a huge coming of age part to this as well, and I really enjoyed that one. I was really surprised when I read this because I don't tend to expect much of books written by singers or actors or people that are just famous in general. So I was really surprised by this one because I thought it was really good. It is by a 17-year-old girl called Coley. Coley is moving to a different town because her mother has passed away and she's moving in with her father. And she's now moving into this very small rural town in Oregon, and there she meets a girl and she is really amazed by this person. She just immediately is attracted to her and she thinks she's so cool, and it's kind of like she has a little bit of an obsession with her. The girl is called Sonia, and she then kind of gets dragged into Sonia's friend group, which is a very difficult friend group, I would say, because they are friends, but somehow they also do shitty things behind each other's backs, so there's that. Yeah, that was really intriguing because it also deals with themes of coming out and with the whole topic of, as a gay woman, is that person also gay? Is she attracted to me? Is she even remotely interested? Is she just trying things out? Especially in that age, you have that thought. And then also, if something happens, can we even address it? Can we talk about it? Is this something that can be made public maybe, or do we have to keep this hidden? All of these things are part of this book, and then also at the same time dealing with difficult family stuff with her mother passing, with moving in with her dad, which she has basically no relationship with before she moves there. They don't know each other very well or even at all. And then also just living in a small town in America and there being like social difficulties and yeah, just getting dragged into that very easily when you're young and so lost in life. And all of these things are so interesting. And this whole back and forth to me felt very real and organic, and you could tell that Hayley Kiyoko is really writing from her experience, and it's not just some shallow romance, or it's not just written with a plot in mind that these two will end up together in the end. It's more of a slice of life, and that was really what made this story for me much more emotional than some of the other YA stories that I've read that center around coming out or coming of age as well. So yeah, I really like that. And it has been a long time since I have read a coming of age novel that I enjoyed that much, just because I'm older now and I don't identify with this part of my life anymore, like not the same way I did when it was happening. Obviously, that's just what happens as you get older. But this one really was something that touched me emotionally, and yeah, a really interesting book and an interesting perspective to write based on a song that you have written. And then we have a very traditional romance on this one. I think it's the most traditional romance on this whole list. It is Love at First Sight by Jennifer Dugan. But I have to say that I expected a different story from this when I saw the cover and I started reading it. I really thought this one was going to be set in a gym and that two girls would fall in love in a gym. But that's not at all what happens. It is about Lizzie, who works in a gym, and then there's James, who is the son of the owners of the gym chain where Lizzie works at. And her and James are best friends, and he invites her to Cara, his sister's wedding. And he invites her because Lizzie really wants a promotion. Her dream in life basically is to have her own gym or lead her own gym. And because James' parents are obviously going to be at his sister's wedding, he thinks it's a good idea to invite Lizzie, and he also needs somebody to accompany him. And yeah, this way she could maybe make a good impression on his parents. But that is not what happens. Not at all. Lizzie comes to the wedding and Cara is there and she meets her, but she doesn't know who she is. She just thinks that Cara is one of the bridesmaids or something. And she is really, really attracted to her. But what she doesn't know is that Cara is supposed to marry, obviously, a guy in this wedding. And then after Lizzie gets a little too drunk and also talks to James' parents while being really drunk, which is so unpleasant. This scene really made me, it made me cringe so hard. She then goes to the bathroom and finds Cara there crying, and she still doesn't know who Cara is, and she says to her, like, if this guy you're dating is making you so unhappy, maybe he's not the right person for you and you shouldn't put up with that. You should be really happy and the person you're with should make you really happy. And yeah, then later on she finds out that Cara is James' sister, but then it's already too late because Cara is calling off the wedding. And then she kind of also moves in with James, which means that Lizzie and her will see each other a lot. And of course, there still is a lot of attraction there from Lizzie's side, and it turns out from Cara's side as well. But the whole situation is so difficult because Cara's just called off her wedding. Then her brother doesn't know that that was partly because of Lizzie, and these two don't get along very well in the beginning because there are some misunderstandings. And then also the huge topic of Cara's parents just straight up hating Lizzie. And yeah, there's just a lot going on in the story. I still thought it was really cute. It was a more interesting setup than a lot of the romances I've read recently. So I would give some points for that. What I didn't like as much were that there were some misunderstandings, and that's just not something that I enjoy a lot in romances. I like when characters just communicate well, and yeah, just that would help a lot of the time. But in this case, it was quite believable. The ending was a little bit cheesy, but I can live with that. I like a good happy ending, and yeah, if it's a little bit cheesy, it's fine. But overall, I would say I enjoyed the first half of the book more than I did the second half. Because in the beginning there were some really funny moments and the character introductions were really interesting, and then after it got a little bit... It lost a little bit of the focus it had in the first half. But yeah, that's fine. It was a really enjoyable story, and I would also recommend it if you enjoy a little bit more traditional romances. Now comes the literary fiction part of this. The book I'm talking about is Concerning My Daughter by Kim Hye-jin. And this book is about a mother who is having some problems with her lesbian daughter, who moved into her house with her long-term girlfriend Lane. And the mother is quite homophobic, and we're inside her head the whole time. So if you're sensitive to this topic area, I would really skip this. But I thought it was interesting to read about, because it's sometimes hard for me to understand why people feel that way, or what their, not intentions, but just like what their thoughts and feelings behind these really strong opinions are. And it was interesting to read. I don't know if I understand it better now. I think maybe even more confused, because a lot of it had to do with her wanting to protect her daughter and just the pressure of society, which I can understand, but obviously there were so many conflicts with her daughter, and supporting the people you love is always more helpful than just trying to convince them to live a life that they are not happy in. But yeah, it definitely helped me to see this perspective, which I don't think everybody needs to see that perspective or understand it, but it can definitely help if you're trying to argue with someone, maybe. Yeah, and there were also some other parts in this book. There was a second storyline which dealt more with themes of aging and taking care of a person that is in a care home. So that was also a very moving storyline. I don't really understand the parallels that were being drawn between the two stories, but it was still kind of interesting to see that part of the storyline anyways, even though I didn't think there were so many parallels, or I couldn't really understand the parallels that were being drawn. Even though I did think it was a little bit weird, because to me this storyline kind of almost overshadowed the storyline between the mother and daughter, and I think there could have been more of a focus on that, because a lot of the story between the mother and daughter also focused on the daughter's partner, because the mother was really focused on her and also focusing her aggression almost, or not that she was really being physically aggressive, but verbally and mentally. Yeah, so I kind of forgot where I was going with this, but it was definitely interesting to read, especially in such a traditionalist society as Korea, where this novel is set. It is a very short novel, but it definitely is one that can hit you emotionally, especially if you're affected by one of the topics, or you're just emotional or affected by topics like this easily. In the end of this, I didn't really know how to rate this, or if I liked it or not, or if this was a good book or not. I'm really torn with this one, because it's just giving you a perspective of a person that is just so obviously wrong that it's really hard. It was really hard for me to sympathize with her or connect with this character. So yeah, I don't really know how to say if I would recommend this or not. I think you just have to decide for yourself. But I thought it would be interesting to include, to just give a different perspective on lesbian relationships during Pride Month. Because a lot of the time you just tend to read these overly happy, sappy love stories. I love that. But yeah, it was kind of good for me to also get this reality check to see that homophobia is a very real thing, and it is a very threatening thing that is so present in our society, not just in Korea, but also in other countries, even if they're more progressive. So yeah, that was kind of important for me to include this as well. But the last book on this list is another happy, sappy romance. A very good one, I think. It is called I Kissed a Girl by Janet Alexander. And this book was really something that I enjoyed so much. First and foremost because of the setting, because I love books that are set in Hollywood or especially on film sets. That is just one of the settings that I don't know why. Okay, I know why. Because I study media design and I also really like being on film sets, and just this whole Hollywood thing is something that is so cool to me. I know there's so much bad stuff going on behind the scenes, but I just love reading about it. No matter if it's idealized or if it's reading about like the real behind the scenes stuff, I just think it's very interesting, and I'm also a bit obsessed with celebrity culture, so there's that as well. And that is why I enjoyed this book so much. It is about Lila, who is an upcoming actress, and she's starring in a horror movie. And then there's also Noah, and Noah is doing the special effects makeup on the set. And that is the coolest part of it, because I really love reading about this, and I also really love like practical effects and just reading about all of this. It made me so happy. And these two meet on set and they start getting closer and closer to each other as Noah is doing Lila's makeup, and she gets reassigned as her and the other guy's makeup artist, and that is so cool. But then there's also a different part of the storyline besides these two getting to know each other, and it's about Lila actually having a stalker that is harassing her online, but also writing her messages about being on set and watching her, and that is so scary. And I think that part of the story really added to it. In the end, I didn't think it was taken as seriously as it could have been, because in the end it was just this huge scene that was felt very inauthentic, and I know that's the whole novel probably isn't that authentic, but I think if you're taking a topic like this, maybe it would have been better to deal with it in a more realistic way. I don't know. That's just my thought on the ending, but the romance part of it, I really enjoyed it a lot. And I don't think it has to do really with the characters, to be honest. I just thought the setting was so cool. That was my main takeaway from this book, that I really need to start reading more books that have Hollywood and film set settings. So if you have any recommendations for that, please give them to me immediately. I just love that. Yeah, besides that, it was really nice. It was really cool to read about Lila discovering her sexuality and like trying things out for the first time with Noah, and yeah, that was really cute. And there were some misunderstandings that were totally unnecessary, but the conflict also felt like it was something that I could see happening in real life, which is really rare in romance novels. A lot of these are so fabricated, but this one, I feel like the struggles that they were having felt like something that I could imagine my friends telling me about. Obviously, hopefully not the stalker part of it, but just the thing between the two of them. So yeah, as you could tell, I also enjoyed this one. I don't know if the romance part was the biggest part of it, so I can't judge if people who don't enjoy this setting as much will enjoy the book as much as I did, but I would still recommend it. So yeah, these were my 5 Sapphic romance and literary fiction recommendations, and I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope that I will be back with more videos soon. I hope that my thesis will not take up all of my free time. It probably will. It's another 2 months from now that will probably be filled with like a lot of work. So yeah, could be that videos will still be coming a lot less until I have finished my thesis, but I still enjoy making videos, I still enjoy doing YouTube, so I probably, hopefully, will be back after that when I have my life back. So yeah, I will see you then. Bye!